What is up, everybody? I hope you guys are all having a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you happen to be out there. First and foremost, I wanted to give a shout out to Matthew, Liny, light that shines in the darkness on Twitter. This dude is an old school researcher within the XRP community. He had sent me a couple of pieces of information yesterday, so we're hearing things like, essentially Russia won't be using things like cryptocurrency to circumvent sanctions, and that's fine. But we can look at what Brics has done. We can look at what Russia's been doing from, we talked about atomize and kind of tokenizing precious metals. Matthew shared with me this. This is from Brics, certainly talking about integrating a wallet for digital cryptocurrencies of Brics countries and fiat accounts. We can see what this Brics Business Council, where they're dealing in. Obviously, it's all the players of Brics, right? India, Russia, South Africa, Brazil, China. So this I found very interesting, though, and he shared this with me as well. Now, at first glance, I'm like, okay, this is just a university study. But I look at the author here, and the author, which is what really interested me, is Parv Agarwal. So always try to do the due diligence and research out who some of these authors are, what they may or may not be involved in. Parv happens to be a business development lead at Xinfin. Now, he has authored this article. What I find interesting is this is directly talking about in order to achieve the Brics goal of de-risking trade settlements, okay? Now, it goes down in here and it says funds needed to execute the contract can temporarily be pre-stored in a linked virtual escrow-like account associated with the contract to guarantee fund availability at the time of execution. And he is directly quoting the XRP ledger. So you've got a business development lead who is working at Xinfin talking about these funds that are needing to be executed within a contract being temporarily pre-stored in a linked virtual escrow-like account associated with contract to guarantee fund availability at the time of execution, and just quoting the XRP ledger. Probably nothing to see there, but yeah, obviously you can look up this dude. You can, maybe I'll share some of the stuff. Really, I wanted to get into this today. So another thing regarding sanctions, and this is a bunch of congressmen, I believe, or a bunch of senators. Yep, Elizabeth Warren, obviously, Mark Warner, Sherrod Brown, Jack Reed, all U.S. senators, sending a letter to Janet Yellen. And this is talking about monitoring and enforcing sanctions compliance by the crypto industry, and to express our concern that criminals, rogue states, and other actors may use digital assets and alternative payment platforms as a new means to hide cross-border transactions for nefarious purposes. Wonder what they're talking about. This was crazy. So a couple of days ago, essentially, Jerome Powell, during a speech stating that it may be possible to have more than one reserve currency of the world, diminishing the U.S.'s dollar dominance. We'll see where that goes, but right on the coattails of that, Volante debuting unified interface to FedNow in the clearinghouse's real-time payment system. We do know that Volante has the capability of utilizing XRP through Volpay, and another huge shout out to Matthew Liny, because he had asked that question on Twitter, and this was probably a year and a half ago. Volante actually responded and say, yes, our users can choose to utilize XRP through Volpay. So kudos. And obviously Volante interfacing into FedNow and the clearinghouse's real-time payment system. Probably nothing to see there, right? These announcements are kind of just back-to-back. And speaking of another back-to-back announcement, this is coming out of the House Committee on the Budget, and they're literally talking about abolishing the debt limit in the United States, and meaning that essentially infinite debt, right? Abolishing the debt limit is an act of fiscal responsibility. And then I'll just read the summary maybe. The U.S. government is projected to reach the debt ceiling sometime in early 2023. The debt limit stalemate in the fall of 2021 provided another example of the unnecessary stress and uncertainty that is created when we approach the limit. Well, you could manage the budget. In the weeks that Treasury was forced to use extraordinary measures to avoid default, markets saw increased volatility and higher interest rates, et cetera, et cetera. So they're literally talking about extinguishing the limit on debt in the United States. And as we all know, there's a lot of talk about inflation right now. If you're not aware, the debt limit is the total amount of money that the United States government is authorized to borrow to meet its existing legal obligations, including Social Security, Medicare, military salaries, interest on the national debt, tax refunds, and other payments. Kind of the the relationship here is, does debt scale with inflation? A basic rule of inflation is that it causes the value of a currency to decline over time. In other words, cash now is worth more than cash in the future. Thus, inflation lets debtors pay lenders back with money that is worth less than it was when they originally borrowed it. And this is talking just about Treasury securities as an example. As the rate offered on Treasury securities increases, corporations operating in America will be viewed as riskier, necessitating an increase in the yield on newly issued bonds. This, in turn, will require corporations to raise the price of their products and services to meet the increased cost of their debt service obligation. Over time, this will cause people to pay more for goods and services, resulting in inflation. And it's almost like, at least the talks are alluding to a perfect storm, right? God, I can't even believe that I read this today, though. You know, it's time to abolish the debt limit. I don't even know what the United States debt is right now. Last time I looked, it was either above or real close to like $30 trillion. But imagine just saying, from a budgetary committee standpoint, you know what? Having a limit on how we budget so that we don't come close to a debt ceiling is causing a lot of problems. So why don't we just erase the ceiling and just let debt go wherever debt's going to go? Just really, really interesting. And then we saw a Bank of England speech as well today talking about financial stability. This deals very much so into digital assets and cryptocurrencies. And you know, it's just alluding as far as what's to come, climate and crypto, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go too deep into that, though. I think I've touched on these larger institutions enough in this video. I found this, though. So this was a couple of days ago, KPMG, Future of Extended Reality. Now, KPMG is one of the big four. We'll see the other one here, which is Deloitte, is tied into that group. And I found this interesting, talking about 10 predictions on extended reality in the metaverse. And this is basically talking about 2025, 2030 timeframe. Digital real estate, currencies, and other assets will be commonly utilized in wills. By 2030, people will spend more physical conscious time in the metaverse than in the real world. And the financial value of the metaverse will start to challenge the financial value of physical world assets. People will commonly apply for jobs, earn a living, shop, meet friends, and even get married in the metaverse. This is just a valuable document. Anytime that these organizations put these things out, I try to pay attention. They do mention some digital currencies or projects within this space as well. I will link the KPMG one for you guys. And then Deloitte putting out a regulatory framework and time frame kind of across the board with the world at large. So there's a lot of information in this one as well, so I'll post this one for you guys also. Again, I just find all of the timing with all of the announcements and things that we're hearing very, very interesting. I was very surprised today when I was reading this from the House Committee on the Budget, essentially talking about just abolishing the debt limit. It's nuts. You know, I'm not going to allude to anything either way, but I just think that it's really crazy, all the news that we're seeing on a consistent basis. And if I can find some of it, I will certainly try to share it with you guys, okay? I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may happen to be, and I will talk to you when I talk to you later.